Yo, thank you guys so much for tuning into this video. We greatly appreciate you. Today, we are bringing you some news on Amazon's Lord of the Rings MMO front. So there has recently been some circulation on the internet about the MMO and some details have been revealed. So we're going to go through an article here that was published on GameSpot.com, and we're going to give our thoughts on a few of these the aspects of the article. So let's just jump right in here. I'm going to read the first little paragraph here of this article, and then we're just going to kind of give our thoughts as we go through here. So it says, as a part of the acquisition of Leiyu by gaming giant Tencent, a number of documents related to Leiyu's collaboration with Amazon on a Lord of the Rings MMO have been made public. The documents reveal some juicy new details about a project which thus far has been quite secretive. So Red, this is a very interesting first sentence of this article here. It says, as a part of the acquisition of Leiyu by gaming giant Tencent, a number of documents relating to Leiyu's collaboration with Amazon have been made public. So what do you think about Tencent now being involved in the Lord of the Rings MMO?
Well, obviously there's some hesitation there at first. You don't like to see these type of acquisitions in gaming, or at least I don't. One of my favorite companies of all time, Bordy, is well, these two kind of, I guess, fill in the same general umbrella, is Blizzard and Bungie. And when they were, I think it kind of gets played off a little bit when they were acquired by Activision. But dude, that's like a feels bad moment, knowing the effects that Activision has had on, or potentially had on, great companies such as Blizzard is kind of, something you don't like to see as a fan, because you feel like, at least to some extent, they're losing some of the control there. So Leiyu, as we know, makes Warframe, which has a massive cult following. And, that's going to affect Warframe too. But now our beloved Lord of the Rings MMO, Bordy, something me and you have been looking forward to for a long time, now has this, I don't know, man, this, I hate to use the word taint to it, but dude, it just feels like, at first glance, it's kind of makes you hesitate, dude, a little bit. So
yeah, it does. I know Tencent has a very negative reputation among, or mostly negative, I would say, among most gaming communities. And I think, they have a history of microtransactions and the like. But on the flip side of that, man, with Tencent being involved, this could also mean that they are going to meet some of these deadlines, which we're about to talk about here in just a second. But it seems like with them being involved, they may push the project forward, and it may end up being a good thing, maybe, that they're involved.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the reasons Activision was brought in the first place into that, into the Blizzard situation was production, man. They blew up and they had no idea how to scale it. And I think Activision was brought in to kind of help with that situation. So there is some positive things with Tencent being involved now, obviously, with timing, man. I think, again, I keep bringing it back to Activision, but Activision does do a good job of getting Call of Duties out every year. They hired, 2 to 3 different, development teams to make sure that was the case. They technically have a bunch of people making Call of Duties, but that same, title is now an annual thing. So, this could be really good with Tencent involved in the timing in which we're going to get this MMO, and once the MMO launches, what that content schedule is going to look like, Bordy, because they have mentioned, and I think we'll talk about this later, this is going to be a free-to-play game. So, what, again, Tencent's kind of, I guess, synonymous with microtransactions at this point, but it'll be interesting to see how much content they can put out to keep people invested enough to want to spend money on microtransactions. So
yeah, absolutely, man. The free-to-play thing does scare me just a little bit. But all right, so let's move on in this article. I'm just going to read the next little part of this here. It says, the documents include a licensing agreement for the Tolkien property, which also makes mention of the Lord of the Rings Online, the existing MMO that Amazon's product will launch in direct competition with. The licensing agreement shows that Leiyu agreeing to pay over $8 million simply to secure the license for the Middle-earth game. So they're going to have to secure that before they release this next one, apparently. So it says the documents also include a co-development agreement with Amazon, which involves the broader e-commerce company rather than specifying the game-specific Amazon Studios branch. I'm not real sure what that means there and why they would just include the broader e-commerce company rather than the gaming-specific Amazon Studio branch. I found that interesting, and I don't really know what to make of that, but maybe nothing. Yeah, so then it says an amendment to the licensing agreement also includes a production schedule, which shows a rough timeline for the game, though notably the amendment was made prior to COVID-19 pandemic, meaning the schedule may have changed since. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about the schedule. All right. So it says it points to January 11th, 2021 as a due date for the draft of complete game lore and narrative with a playable prototype, then due in June of 2021, dude. Yeah. Did you expect there to be like a playable prototype of this game in June? Did you know it was already like happening?
No. I mean, me and you, we cover, very thoroughly New World. We do a lot of Ashes of Creation content as well. Me and you have we have this expectation on ourselves on what we're doing when, and we've always had in the back of our mind, Bordy, that the upcoming Lord of the Rings MMO, and I had no idea, dude, that we were gonna have some sort of playable demo. I don't think we'll be playing the game, but apparently they'll have some sort of footage for us in June of 2021. That's 1 month after New World's slated to release, so dude, I'm extremely excited to hear that these deadlines are there, and I just hope they're met at this point.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty crazy, man. But so it goes on to say that it's still clearly early days for the game's development, with the public not likely to get their hands on it in open beta until September 2022, or an open beta in January 2023. So apparently a beta in September 2022, I guess a closed beta, and then an open beta possibly in 2023. So it's still going to be a little while before we actually get to play. So probably a couple years, I guess. But still, even having an open beta in January of 2023 is incredibly surprising to me. I was thinking more like 2025 whenever we were going to see a Lord of the Rings MMO.
Yeah, I'm on the same book as you, dude. I really didn't think it was anywhere close to even being conceived at this point, dude. And it's like they say this is kind of like a negative thing in the article, like players should not expect an open beta until September 2022. That's way sooner than I thought it was gonna happen. So like I'm excited, dude. That's like, realistically less than 2 years away for an open beta, Bordy. Those are playable. I mean, you know what I mean? That's where me and you will be playing a new Lord of the Rings MMO in 2022. That's extremely exciting, man.
It is, for sure. So then it says this schedule is for the PC with subheadings for a PS4 and Xbox One launch, both saying the aim is to have the content complete and playable within 6 months of the PC open beta and a full launch within 12 months of the beta. There's no mention of PS4, Xbox Series XS yet, but that's crazy, man. So they are absolutely planning on having this on console, which doesn't really come as a surprise to me, but that's a pretty quick turnaround. But I wonder, this doesn't say anything about like a true cross-platform play, so I wonder if that's going to be a thing once they actually launch on those consoles.
I mean, here's the way I look at it now. It's a way of the future, man. If you're not doing cross-platform play, you're going to be missing out on a massive opportunity. I just think it's, with Fortnite showing, especially with a free-to-play game, that's where I think Fortnite's success kind of like really blew up. Is, everybody can play with each other. Like, you know what I mean? So then it doesn't limit people like to be able to play with their friends that don't own the same console or don't, maybe, they don't have a PC, but then they do have a console. Like, that's one thing in gaming that is very, I think, underrated, or understated at least, is that, dude, if I can't play that game with my friends, I'm less likely to play the game. You know what I mean? So I would think that they got to be shooting for some sort of cross-platform play as well.
I would think so as well, man. It just makes a lot of sense at this day and age where we're at with gaming to have that available for an MMO, especially something of this scale. And I think it would give them a huge advantage because I'm not so sure other MMOs are going that route right now. But so that was kind of the last meat of the article. But I wanted to ask you one last question before we ended this video. Now that we have kind of a tentative timeline for this MMO, it says the documents reveal Amazon is aiming for a 2023 release. Okay, so we know that New World is supposed to come out in 2021, so that's going to be a couple years after New World. So my first question to this kind of two-part question to wrap this thing up is this game going to directly compete with another product that Amazon is putting out, New World, which I guess it will be because it's in the MMO space. But what is that going to do to our beloved New World that we are so heavily invested in? What is that going to do to that game in 2 years? And it's too early to tell, obviously, but it's just an interesting thought to think about.
And, you know, here's the thing. MMO, that phrase gets thrown around a lot lately. I think a lot of people consider Destiny as an MMO, you know, games like that kind of probably, you know, aren't traditionally what we're used to as far as, you know, the genre is, but still kind of technically still falls into that category. So, dude, maybe, you know, who knows what we'll be getting at that point. And you think about the money that's being thrown into this. I mean, Tencent, Amazon, dude, this could be like, I know like there's some memes about this, but this could be like a Skyrim gameplay style, but MMO. No game has ever pulled that off before. I think ESO has at sometimes is aspired to be that, but we've never really seen something like that. So who knows, dude? This may be not something that directly like competes with New World. It could be something that we've never seen before, which is really exciting.
Yeah, true, and you're right. The MMO tag or the MMO definition has gotten a little bit skewed over the years, I think, from what I was used to as a traditional MMO growing up and what I was introduced to in the beginning. So you may be right there. We don't know yet. We have no concrete details on exactly what the game is going to be. So that leads me into the next question, and that is kind of the comparison for this and Ashes of Creation, because we know Ashes of Creation is coming out around that time too. So
probably
those
the
two,
exact same time.
very close to one another, I would think. So what in the world is going to happen whenever those two, if the Lord of the Rings MMO is more of like a traditional MMO and they're going the route of something like Ashes of Creation with all of these features and all of these things they're trying to implement into the game? We all know that Ashes of Creation has got it just has a tremendous amount of hype right now. I think the game's going to be just enormous whenever it releases. So what is that going to do? Is that going to take some steam away from Ashes of Creation? Because this is a big IP. Lord of the Rings is, dude, we're not talking about some no-name game here. This has a huge title. So it's just interesting to think about with now we know what the release date is. What's that going to do to Ashes, man?
Yeah, I mean, I think you kind of made a good point about Ashes hype is they're doing such a good job at capturing an audience and a community from you know what I mean, from the early stages of development. I can't imagine, you know, that will falter because of the news of a new upcoming MMO. There are tons of games in development right now, MMO specifically, and I really think that there's just a lot of, you know, I mean, me and you know really well because we continue to try to, try to find out what's in the near future or in the, distant future in the MMO space. And we know that there's a lot of broken promises and empty words thrown around. So, I do think that I really hope and do think that this Lord of the Rings MMO is getting made, but I also know and are pretty, confident that Ashes of Creation is going to get made as well. So, I honestly, it's tough, dude, because you and I both struggle with this too. Is like typically people that play MMOs want to focus on one MMO and spend time there. So it may come down to Ashes of Creation really having to go head to head with this Lord of the Rings MMO. But I do think, Ashes of Creation is going to find some success in the space as well. So
yeah, I think so too. Yeah, I agree there for sure. I think it will. It's just an interesting thought to think about these two giant games that are coming together that are going to release around the same time. I don't know that we've seen an MMO launch like that and be competitive in that nature in a very long time.
Yeah,
that I can think of.
Maybe World of Warcraft and EverQuest 2 was like maybe the last time that happened. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe my memory is bad.
Yeah, I can't think of one either, but that'll be an exciting time to see how all that plays out for sure. But do you have anything else to add before we wrap this up, man?
No, dude, I'm just extremely, like, I'm extremely excited about this. This was, awesome to talk about this because me and you have been looking forward to this for quite some time, and it's nice to see new news or a new update surrounding this game. So.
Absolutely. It's awesome to finally have at least something to talk about for the Lord of the Rings MMO for sure. Yeah. So, well, I guess that about wraps it up, man. Guys, don't forget to go hit the subscribe button. Please subscribe, like, and hit the bell for more content just like this. And we will, and make sure you follow the Studio Loot Twitter account. It is just twitter.com just at Studio Loot. There you go. We'll see you guys next time. Hope you have a good one.